Another big announcement from earlier this week came when President Donald Trump and Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. held a press conference, had some very spicy takes on acetaminophen, well, as more colloquially known as Tylenol. They made some interesting connections, okay? I'm not trying to skate around anything, mostly because, well, we could just take a look at the way that the media is reporting on it. Trump links autism to Tylenol and vaccines, claims not backed by science. It's like, oh, okay, cool, we're going to start up with this whole thing again. Interesting, because yesterday we talked about the censorship when it came to YouTube in regards to the coup and to the election, the 2020 election. Let's get more specific on that one. But just going back to 2020, after it was hastily announced that, oh yeah, right, that coup jab, yeah, we're going to be coming around with it. Operation Warp Speed was, very successful, and these different big pharma companies, man, they just really worked a miracle and they got something out there. But for a very brief period of time before the otherwise peaceful transfer of power, there seemed to be a lot of raging liberals that were out there that were saying that no, I wasn't going to be taking any Trump jab, anything recommended by that kook, man. I'm not doing it. But then all of a sudden, the moment that your party is in charge is the moment that you become the fucking Stasi when it comes to being the jab enforcement agency. Fucking interesting, huh? But yeah, let's see the way that the media is reporting it and compare it with, well, what's the best way to put this? The truth, all right? The U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday linked autism to childhood vaccine use and the taking of popular pain medication Tylenol by women when pregnant, elevating claims not backed by scientific evidence to the forefront of the U.S. health policy. Put a pin in that for a second. We'll come back around to it. In an extraordinary news conference at the White House, a Republican president delivered, what does him being Republican have to do with anything? But yes, medical advice to pregnant women and parents of young children, reportedly telling them not to use or administer the painkiller and suggesting that common vaccines not be taken together so early in a child's life. Interesting. They're summarizing what he says. They're just not providing any quotes. That's strange. The advice from Trump, who acknowledges he's not a doctor, goes against the medical societies, which cite the data from numerous studies showing that acetaminophen, the active ingredient in Tylenol, plays a safe role in the well-being of pregnant women. Oh, another thing we need to put a pin in here for a second, because interesting, we need to go ahead and trust the experts like it's safe and effective, right? But what is the timeline and time frame that we need to trust these experts on? But here, we actually do. We actually do have a quote from Trump. Well, truncated and abbreviated quote, rather. I want to say it like this: I don't take Tylenol. Don't take it. Other things that we recommend, or certainly I do anyways, is don't let them pump your baby up with the largest pile of stuff you've ever seen in your life. He said, referring to vaccines. It's like, oh, okay, cool. It's Trump being hyperbolic. Widely used over-the-counter pain medication is also known generically as paracetamol elsewhere. That's fantastic. Thanks for that. And something that they can't attack directly is hidden underneath the headline and after when people normally check out of reading an article, but hey, this is very interesting stuff. Trump's team suggested that levocorvarin, sure, a form of folinic acid, as a treatment for autism symptoms. Dozens of medical research and our autism advocacy groups, including the American Academy of Pediatrics and the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, decried the president's announcement. The data cited did not support the claim that Tylenol cause autism, and levocorvarin is a cure for treatment of symptoms. Who's saying it's a cure? And only stoke fear and falsely suggest that hope, when there is no simple answer. The coalition of autism scientists said in a statement, wow, a coalition of people that wouldn't have a job if a disease ends up getting cured. Standing with Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a vaccine critic who has argued that no vaccine is safe. Provide receipts for that, or you just want to throw that out there? Okay, Trump called for a re-examination of a link between vaccines and autism. Oh, see, he said that vaccines cause autism. God, just a bunch of hacks. Absolute hacks. A theory that has been repeatedly debunked. But okay, researchers say that there's no causal link. Okay, there's no causal link between Tylenol and autism. But that's interesting, right? Yeah, a 2024 study of nearly 2.5 million children in Sweden found no causal link between the exposure of acetaminophen and neurodevelopmental disorders. Well, that's interesting, right? Because if you also contrast that with what the man said at his announcement. Neither Trump or RFK Jr. linked Tylenol with autism. Okay, what he said on the day, okay, 6 points that he laid out. Recommended no Tylenol for babies when they are given vaccines. It's like, okay. A recommendation, MMR given as 3 separate shots. Label Tylenol should not be used in pregnancy except for emergencies. All right. Remove aluminum from vaccines. It's like, oh, okay, that kind of sounds like a good thing. I don't know why Reuters didn't want to report on that. Spread shots out over 4 to 5 visits. Hepatitis B vaccine only recommended for ages 12 and up, and validated autism moms who know vaccines are responsible for their child's autism. All right, you wanted to take a further look into that stuff. There's your autism announcement. But who is it that did make the link between acetaminophen and autism? Well, the dean of the faculty, the professor of environmental health at Harvard. Oh, okay. Colleagues and I recently conducted a rigorous review funded by a grant used by the NIH. I thought we were supposed to trust them, right? Oh no, Fauci's not in charge anymore, so we don't trust them anymore. Or no, that was Francis Collins that was in charge of that fucking hack that also went underground. Of the potential risk of acetaminophen use during pregnancy, we reviewed 46 previously published human studies worldwide, and we found evidence of an association between exposure to acetaminophen during pregnancy and increased incidence of neurodevelopmental disorders in children. Well, that's interesting, because she's also not alone in that, because you take another look at a different set of collages here, okay, from Mount Sinai. Her study supports evidence that prenatal acetaminophen use may be linked to increased risk of autism and ADHD. Then you got, yes, from the NIH as well. That's back in 2016. Use of acetaminophen during pregnancy and the risk of autism spectrum disorder in the offspring. And several other studies used over the years as well, from 2022, 2023, 2025, in fact. Interesting. But even with all this evidence that's out there, you would have thought that, somebody might have picked on this information beforehand, picked it up, and moved it forward. But yeah, there actually was an incident of that when there was a class action lawsuit being brought against Tylenol, but because one federal judge says that, we can't use research to draw the link between acetaminophen to autism and ADHD, I guess that's good enough to just go ahead and dismiss an entire body of evidence. Oh, okay. 440 lawsuits brought against the makers of Tylenol and generic acetaminophen do not have admissible evidence to show the prenatal exposure to the medication can lead to autism or ADHD, a federal judge ruled this week. U.S. District Judge Denise Cote wrote in her opinion that at least one of the experts provided in the plaintiff's cherry-picked and misrepresented study results and refused to acknowledge the role of genetics in the etiology of either ASD or ADHD. Well, that's very interesting. And if a federal judge says something's true, then we have to take that at face value, right? Judges have never been wrong about anything before. They are far more prominent and they are far more experienced in the realm of health and medication research than, like the dean of Harvard, the research body at Mount Sinai. But you can see what's going on here. If you've been around for the past 5 years, the lengths to which the establishment, the lengths to which the media will go to bat, they will sweep hard for big pharma, is fucking amazing. So in the face of some renewed hope that autism could be cracked in the coming years, no, you just got fear peddlers that are out here, okay? I'm literally shaking. They unironically use this, Canadian parent of children with autism reacts to Trump's claims, that their shows promise in dealing with the symptoms of ADHD and autism. That's got you literally shaking. Or that maybe you scarfing down tablets the moment that you have a little ache in your feet may have contributed to your kid's fucking dunderhead status. Who knows? When Christina Kalura's son Luca was 3 years old, she received confirmation that her little boy was on the spectrum. It was a bit of a shock in the sense of what now? But my thought process automatically turned to not what he can't do, but what he can do and how we're going to help him. Yeah, now there's more hope that's out there. I don't know why that's a bad thing. Oh, because the Orange Man said it. That's why. Speaking of CTV National News, the mother of two shared her anger. I'm literally shaking as I'm talking about it. It's crazy to think that we're going to be creating stigmas against moms. Oh my God. New guidelines for dealing with readily available drugs. Women most affected. But it's fucking hilarious who are, in fact, and this right here is just a precursor as to who is taking this the hardest. Because now we have liberal pregnant women pop Tylenol like Tic Tacs after Trump's autism claim. They're literally proving the old meme true. If Trump announced that he had solved cancer, they would take to the streets with signs advocating for tumor rights. Like, what the fuck are we doing, you absolute spanners? So Trump's announcement warning expectant mothers against routine Tylenol use has triggered a wave of viral pushback, with some pregnant women posting videos of themselves swallowing pills in defiance. We have some of them, by the way. This is not hyperbolic rhetoric whatsoever. So the protest videos began appearing shortly after Trump, alongside Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz declared that prenatal acetaminophen use can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. He urged women to avoid the drug unless medically necessary, citing research flagged by the FDA. Oh wow, it's funny that Reuters didn't want to run with that, but then again, we don't trust the FDA anymore because the orange man's in charge. So taking Tylenol is not good. I'll say it, it's not good. For this reason, we are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy. Within hours, some women began posting mocking videos on TikTok. Yeah, you got one here. And you've also got several more over here that I will not subject you to, the audio for. But yeah, they're, picking up just, bottles of Tylenol, and all these single moms, just also showcasing their very intelligent and their very well thought out life choices are just, just potentially putting their future children's health at risk, okay? Potentially, okay? I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but neither is the mass media or any of these fucking scholars and these beautiful individuals, okay? But even still, I can go ahead and rationalize if I'm getting, medical information that's out there, or if I am seeking the best practices for my growing child, I'll probably go to my doctor first. I might inquire as to what I have heard out there from the president, from the Health and Human Services Director, but outside of that, I'll be seeking a much more a personal opinion. Just saying. But yeah, pregnant liberals are now taking Tylenol just to try to give their babies autism, just to protest President Trump. Liberalism is a mental disorder. But yes, Dr. Nicole Saphir, a Fox News contributor, urged women to stop using pregnancy as a political statement. Pregnant women popping Tylenol like Tic Tacs just to stick it to Trump. Please stop. Don't weaponize your pregnancy for a political point. Yeah, exactly. She stressed that acetaminophen should be taken sparingly and only when necessary, consistent with the advice of many OBGYNs. Yeah, exactly. This is just simply a reiteration of fucking known fact years over. But again, because the orange man said it, that ultimately means that it's bad. But with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Conspello. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.